What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Haze Demon Show. And today we are gonna be going over the tier list for the top 12 cards that are rare in the South Park Phone Destroyer mobile game. Oh, goodness. That's right. So we're gonna be going from number 12 all the way up to number 1. However, between number 2 and number 1, we will have the honorable mentions, which last time for the common cards I did 4 honorable mentions. This time I did 5 honorable mentions. Okay, so I couldn't help myself. I'm so hard to not get that. Maybe it is down to 4. I don't know. But anyway, so I base these cards a lot on the versatility, on how well they can fit into more decks, and not just how much value you can get from the card energy wise, or like things of that nature. And just something else to let you guys know that I have been playing in the top 200, give or take, for the last 2 years of playing this game. So sometimes my opinion is a little different than your opinion. If it is at a different rank, even 500 ranks could be a big difference in what you see more common in your meta, I guess you could say. But this is what I feel like are the strongest cards in the game, and I do try not to be biased because I do play a lot of sci-fi fantasy, but you may see that I favor those maybe more. I don't know. We're gonna go ahead and jump into here, the rare cards. Without further ado, I don't feel like I have anything else I could say. I'm just trying to think. Make sure to check out the top 12 comments. Make sure to know that we are going to be doing the superhero themed tier list after pretty much next week, actually, because the 2 new cards, if you didn't know, Wonder Tweek and Super Craig are coming out. I didn't think that Wonder Tweek was good enough yet. You know, I'm not positive for him to be on this list, so I went ahead and just left Wonder Tweek out of here. He's going to be a rare card, but since I haven't played him myself, I haven't seen him on the battlefield, I can't really give him a good idea. However, like I said, we're going to do superhero themed tier list next week, or sometime next week, and we'll know for sure with those new cards. I will know for sure by then how I feel about those new cards, and I'll let you guys know. Also, don't forget to hit that like and leave a comment if you have any opinions about where I put these cards in my list. I'm going to do this one a little bit better, a little more post-production, so you guys can understand what place they are. So we're starting from number 12, and we're going to number 1, and also doing honorable mentions, right? So we got that. Now for sure, without further ado, let's keep it going. It's going to be Catapult Timmy! Ooh la la. Number 12 here, sitting at, he's a ranged 3-cost fantasy unit with a charged ability that launches filthy rats at the nearest enemy. At one point in time, he used to throw 3 rats. Now, that would have been super OP if they had left it in there, but this is like a year and a half ago, maybe even almost 2 years ago, that they decided to change him. So that way he could only throw 2 rats, but he has a very good amount of attack, a decent amount of health. He has a really good range of 5. He also walks extremely slow, which if you could call it walking, he's rolling extremely slow, which can make it to where other units are literally just fighting and dying before they even run back into fighting him again. And I feel like he's a really good opener card. And then also providing the swarm with the 2 rats, which can do a lot of good damage if they are not getting like zapped down or whatnot. So I feel very strong about this card for sure. Next card is going to be Enforcer Jimmy for the 2-cost rare card. I don't know, I have to say rare card. The 2-cost sci-fi card. He has 151 attack and 650 health. His power range of 3, which is an aura. Nearby enemies cannot charge their ability. So, this is a very strong ability. It delays units from being able to use their ability, like Stand of Many Moons, blowing up the whole field, or Witch Doctor token, ranged units from being able to bust out their extra chickens or whatever. He prevents units from being able to do what makes them valuable for their energy use, right? So then they just become a walking body with no ability. Very good. He has a lot of health for a 2-cost unit. In the grand scheme of things, he will die pretty quickly if he's at the front line. So it's much better for him to be a unit that assists a tank or assists another unit on the front line. That way his aura can live longer and conquer everything, right? So, very good card. Should be pretty much in every sci-fi deck for sure. Alrighty, speaking of which, we have the 2-cost, which some of you probably think that this card should be higher on the list, and maybe you're right. The 2-cost card, charged ability, fighter unit. His charge ability is rush and strike at the nearest enemy with an extra damage at level 6. We're going to be talking about all these cards at level 6, by the way. At level 6, he's doing, it's a little late to say that, 222 extra damage added on to his attack. So he's doing 372 damage. That is a lot of damage that he does. Very good. I do believe that is how his attack boost, because he's hitting him with basically his regular attack with the dash, with the added attack. Positive. And it attacks the closest unit to him, which can also be the new kid. Which is the reason why, the biggest reason why he's most powerful. Because if he can do that direct damage to the new kid, you win games. It's like using a Dougie on your new kid, on the opponent or whatever. But the thing is that it forces your opponent to have to play a card to protect the new kid. Whether that be a low-cost card, high-cost card, it doesn't matter. Your opponent wasn't able to wait until you moved to their side of the field. They had to put that unit down immediately, and then you don't even have to use your ability. You can just wait, and that allows them to get closer to your side of the field. So just that additional pressure is what makes Space Warrior Token very good. Another reason why these 2-cost cards are in here is it helps you rotate through your deck quicker, too, while still being a high value for their cost, for sure. So the big thing is it creates pressure to the point of having to use, somebody might freak out and have to use a lightning bolt to stop Space Warrior Token from hitting their new kid. Of course, you would want to watch out for mind control, because it turns around and he'll hit yourself with your own Space Warrior Token. Very possible. Next up on this list is going to be our, let me make sure we say this here, we had number 12, that was number 10. I don't know why I'm not saying this, right? So Catapult Timmy was number 12, Enforcer Jimmy was number 11, Space Warrior Token was number 10. So the number 9 on this list is going to be Dr. Timothy. He is a 4-cost ranged unit with a charged ability. Lifts the furthest ground unit in range for 4 seconds, then slams them down, dealing 229 whopping damage. This is absolutely crazy. He has an extremely high amount of health, has a good amount of attack, attacks a pretty good amount of rate, a long range of 5. His power is what makes him really, really good, because you and your opponent have ranged units fighting all the melee units in the middle. But Dr. Timothy, normally abilities only attack the closest units. So Dr. Timothy's ability is to attack basically the opponent's ranged unit. And as their ranged unit eventually gets hit once, and then gets hit twice with this ability while everybody's still fighting in the middle, all of a sudden your opponent doesn't have a ranged unit anymore, and now Dr. Timothy literally can just take control of the field. He also moves very slowly. About as slow as Catapult Timmy. I don't know for sure what the difference is. Maybe Catapult might be a little bit slower, but I'm not positive. So the 4 energy, he is 1 extra energy more than Catapult, so you would kind of think Catapult might be better because you can almost get the same value, but the reality is that 1 extra energy for an ability that guarantees you to hit back row units, and the health to keep you alive from attacks. His health and attack is literally, I mean, the whole card is literally the equivalent. A level 6 is the equivalent of a level 4 legendary Mecha Timmy. And there's a 2 rarity difference between these two cards. So I'm surprised they didn't nerf Dr. Timothy when they nerfed Mosquito and Human Kite. And it's fine that they didn't. I'm not worried about it. I don't mind having other Timmys be good. They're like literally every Timmy's good in the game except Pirate Ship Timmy. You won't see him on this list. I hate to break it to you. Right, so very good card. Very strong. I just feel like he doesn't get higher on the list because he's 1 energy more than the other kinds of cards like him. I mean, you know what I mean. Catapult Timmy, yada 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 yada. I feel like he could, even though he's better than Catapult Timmy, I feel like if he was 3 cost, he would definitely be way higher on this list. So the 4 balances him out pretty good. Next is gonna be OMG. It's gonna be a 2-way tie for number 8. It's gonna be a 2-way tie for number 8. Dwarf Engineer Dougie and Power Fist Dougie. Oh my goodness. Both of these cards could easily have been higher on the list, but there is a ton of counters to these units. They are an Assassin Headhunter. Both of them have pretty close to the same attack and health. 334, 350. So Power Fist actually has less attack than, less health than Dwarf Engineer, or Dwarf Dougie, I mean to say. But the difference is that Dwarf Engineer has no way to be able to protect himself. However, when he hits the second time, he has increased his attack enough to be able to take a whole entire bar. So it only takes him 2 hits to take a bar. Power Fist Dougie, it takes him 3 hits, I'm pretty sure. At high ranks, right? We're talking about high new kid levels. For sure, that's what I'm talking about here. Right, on. So, I ended up putting them even with each other because even though they both have the Power Fist is probably the better card because he can protect himself, but Dwarf Engineer having to be able to hit it only twice kind of makes up for that. They're also extremely fast from going from the midline to the new kid, and then they also require you to be able to have some sort of way to remove them. So it's very possible that you use the type of removal on these Dougies, and that allows your opponent to be able to gain an advantage. If you were to, let's say, Lightning Bolt the Dougie, now Stand of Many Moons is on, or Mecha Timmy is on the other side of the field, uncontested. Or Unholy Combustion onto the Dougie, which is going to be an additional cost, 5 energy for the 4 energy, and then their bigger, stronger units are on the field. Or, let's say another one, Dragon Slayer Red. Boom, hits Dougie. Guess what? Dougie's actually still going to hit your new kid and do damage, but not that much. Not as much. Right? But now that you've used now that you've used DSR, your opponent knows that you have no way to decrease health and whatnot. So now they can play really heavy units up front and start pushing down on you. So Dougie allows you to be able to do a lot of allowed it to create pressure against your opponent, and it's really difficult sometimes to deal with if you don't have enough answers to it in your deck. If you run enough answers, then it's literally just a flip of a switch to use a different card to defeat him. And again, with the Power Fist Dougie, he freezes the enemy leader and surrounding enemies with the first strike. So he freezes them, then they're done frozen for 2 seconds. So if you only need to hit 1 time, Power Fist Dougie is better than Dwarf Engineer. But if you need to hit twice, then Dwarf Engineer is the better choice, right? But either way, both of them are very good. So, number 7, coming at you, it's gonna be Underpants Gnomes. And I know some of you may think that these cards also deserve to be higher on the list, but number 7, not too shabby for the 2-cost Assassin. 3 sneaky underwear collectors. They do 106 attack each and do 82, and they have 82 health, which allows them to be able to survive some zaps from high-level new kids, and definitely from low-level new kids for sure. But the 106 attack times 3, that's 318 damage, and they attack very quickly for only 2 energy. 318 damage. That is a lot. Very strong defensive card. You can even use him on offense. It's just the problem is that if they get hit by the zapper, then they're not going to be nearly as effective. So using him as a defense card, you usually have a card tanking the damage, and that allows the Underpants Gnomes to do massive damage. Their DPS is extremely high when given the opportunity to do the damage. So they are very, very good. They can literally fit in almost any deck for sure. Alrighty, so, but there's not a whole lot to talk about there. I mean, there's not really an easy way to counter. You just need to have either a quick shooting unit, or you have swarm units of your own, or maybe an AoE when you're hitting other units. Because if you use AoE on only Underpants Gnomes, that's not a really good idea. But if there's more other units close enough to the Underpants Gnomes, it makes sense. So that you end up having to trade more energy to get rid of the Underpants Gnomes than they already are doing, basically. So that's where they kind of make their strength also. And then we've got on our next one, that's going to be our number 6 coming at you. It's going to be Visitors. Again, another one you guys probably think should be much higher on the list. I would not doubt it. 83 attack each and 292 attack or health each. These are ranged units for 3 cost energy. These Visitors have a really high DPS, the same thing like the Gnomes. However, by being ranged units, it allows the Visitors more potential to do more damage. Visitors from another planet. That is basically their ability. These cards used to be really bad, and now they are much better. There's supposed to be a Cartman in the background, but it looks like a Pokeball. But it's actually Cartman with the anal probe thing coming out of his butt. These cards will literally eat away health tremendously and will warrant your opponent to want to use some sort of higher energy in order to take these units down. If you try to use Underpants Gnomes against Visitors, there's a really good chance that the Visitors will target down and kill all the Gnomes before they even hit them one time. Same thing with Rats. Same thing with Pigeons. They attack extremely quick so they can take down swarms. They can attack extremely quickly so they can take down tanks, everything. Their DPS is very good. And the similar thing to Gnomes I should have mentioned, they are able to get boosted up twice as much. A Boy Tweek boosting up 2 units instead of 1. Master Ninja boosting 2 units up instead of 1. Same thing. So they're very versatile and can do a lot of DPS offensively and defensively. Not as easily defeated as Gnomes, but they can still be killed by Aerostorm and things of that nature. But they do warrant to get your opponent to try to use more energy to get rid of them than they're worth, than you invested into them. Their value is pretty good. So the next card that's going to be coming up will be number 5. It's going to be Dwarf King Clyde. Maybe that's a surprise to some of you. 4 energy fighter unit. Warcry strikes the nearest enemy with a mighty blow. 619 damage. I'm not sure if it's like Space Warrior Token's ability, where it adds on to the damage that you do, but I do know it's still a lot of damage. It probably is the same as Space Warrior Tokens. The only problem, it's not such an issue with Space Warrior Token, but the biggest problem with Dwarf King Clyde is that the game there's a lot of ways that you can mess up Dwarf King Clyde's attack. And then there's other ways that the game messes it up on its own. Like the opponent does something that happens to screw it up. So they're getting rid of the dash ability getting canceled out, so hopefully that will make him a lot more consistent. But there's a lot of things that as soon as you put this unit on the field, he doesn't immediately target the closest unit. It gives him about a half of a second where he goes roar, and then when he finishes halfway through his roar or something like that, that's whenever he targets the unit he's going to go for. So it's very easy that a critter, a snake, a rat, a chicken will end up in the way randomly and you'll hit the wrong unit. But this unit is literally a game-changing unit. It is a lightning bolt in a body, and you can just dash across the screen. Now, again, here's another one of those problems. It's easy to block him. You can put a bunch of units in the way, and your opponent can save the unit that you were trying to attack. However, that made your opponent play more energy really early on. So they're gonna have to continue to invest in order to make it worth it, which makes you be able to play more defensively. But it depends on how it goes. If he gets the ability off, your opponent just lost something very important to them, like a back row ranged unit, Mekatemi, etc. It will kill a level 6 Dwarf King Clyde, will kill Stand Many Moons. He will hit him, and then he has to hit him once or twice. I think it's 2 times, it seems like to me all of a sudden. 2 times after hitting him, or no, 1 time after hitting him, and it will kill him. The same thing as Mekatemi. Hit him 1 time, and then the after attack, he will hit him. And like all units in the game, Dwarf King Clyde can also double hit. So if he hits him with his ability, there's a chance that he double hits and instantly kills whatever he hits, which that's what you want to happen, of course. Now, double hitting is definitely a bad thing, should never be in the game, but that does make Dwarf King Clyde a lot better. Alrighty, so here we are. We're going to be at number 4. Coming at you, Mind Control. Level 6 gives you a 9.5 second duration. It says 7 seconds on the card, but when you're leveling it up, it'll add it up to 9.5, almost a total of 10 seconds. This is a game changer as well. Now, that's easy to counter with Purify, but that's one theme that can make up the difference there. Your opponent's Dougies, the Stand Many Moons, anything. Your opponent can have nothing but higher card levels than you and have them all Master Ninja'd on the field. And if you pick one of the correct units out of all like 4 units that get buffed, if you pick the one correct unit that's not gonna die immediately, and it kills all of their other units, or at least kills one of the other units and almost gets killed itself, then you have already gained value out of this card. But you can use Mind Control on Dougie, and you instantly win games unless they have Mind Control or Purify also. I mean, but that's right there. You have to have Mind Control in your deck. Your opponent might as well have to have Mind Control in his deck too to counter if they're not able to run Purify. Just so many ways that this card can gain you the advantage. It's ridiculous. I have Mind Controlled Pope Temi before. I just Mind Controlled Master Ninja on Friday, giving my whole entire units their buff. Just everything. Some units like Satan, Dragon Slayer Red, they're kind of harder to hit. Definitely Alien Queen Red would be really hard to hit with Mind Control. And it's even funny if you Mind Control somebody's Cyborg Kenny. Now you have traded evenly, but now you're still going to Mind Control another unit potentially off of their unit. So just so many ways that this card becomes a very good utility card. And for the longest time, I didn't like this card. I didn't really like playing against it, but I also felt like I just didn't like using it. It didn't feel effective enough. But in the last year, a little less than a year, I've definitely grown to like Mind Control a lot more than I used to. But alrighty, we are going to go on to our next one. It's going to be number 3. But guess what? I couldn't make my mind up again. The second time, 2 times in a row, we're going to have a 2-way tie between the next 2 cards, which is going to be Lightning Bolt and Fireball, coming at you for 3rd place. Lightning Bolt, a 4-cost spell card, deals 951 damage to one enemy, or 94 damage to the new kid. It is absolutely of extreme necessity for adventure to have this card. Its energy value trading capability is just off the chains, off the charts. Being able to protect your units, being able to get rid of a unit on the field that is a high priority unit, being Mekatemi, Stand Many Moons, Power Fist Dougie, just anything and everything. You can even trade this energy for a 3-cost card whenever it comes down to it. If your other unit is about to hit the new kid and they spawn a unit, it could even be an assassin. It doesn't matter. That 4 energy for the 2 energy trade will make all the difference, because now you've got the bar. Now you just have to defend, and that's a lot easier to defend than it is to attack, for sure. And the lightning bolt just gives you that offensive capabilities that you need. Not only that, you can also lightning bolt directly to the new kid. So if they have less than 94 health, game over. You just play defense constantly until the end of the match, and then boom, lightning bolt, take the new kid bar, game over. You don't even have to worry about it whatsoever. As long as your units can get them to within that range, it's over. And then you, not only that, you can combine it together, the lightning bolt with the fireball, to do that additional chip damage of 73. So they could be 160 health or less, and you drop 9 energy directly on their new kid, and the last few seconds, there is nothing you can do. But the thing about fireball compared to lightning bolt is that you can get even more value out of it. And what I mean by this is, it seems like the picture is a little bit smaller than it should be here. The reason why is you could have 10 energy on the field, and that fireball could kill every single one of them. Not like lightning bolt, but it makes it to where you have a higher potential for more energy value to gain, but it doesn't have the same versatility as the lightning bolt, where if you have one unit trying to hit the new kid, if you're gonna fireball whatever they're gonna spawn, chances are you're not gonna do enough damage, because fireball does less maximum damage per individual target. But it also means you're using 5 energy instead of 4 to kill what might be only a 2 energy unit that stands in the way. And that is harder to make a defense from than a 2 energy difference with the lightning bolt. So there's more versatility in lightning bolt, but there's more potential for a higher energy value gain, being the 713 damage and the 73 damage to the new kid. And again, combining these two things together, if you are fireballing units that are standing next to the new kid, you're always doing that 73 damage, almost always, no matter what, at some point in time during the matches, because people always are going to be right next to the new kid, whether they're defending or they're setting up for slow pushes. It's whatever. If they're within that range, you just hit that one unit, but hitting the new kid also is a bonus chip damage that you're just slowly working them down the whole entire match. Because the lightning bolt, you have to target only the new kid to do damage, but the fireball, you can get that extra, right? So comboing these two cards together is just very, very powerful. It is an extreme necessary thing. If you want to run adventure, you need both these cards at level 6 and in your deck, no doubt about it. And there's really hardly anything that can compare to these cards in versatility. And we are going to be going to our number 2 card in the game. That's a rare card. It's going to be, no surprise to anyone, Energy Staff. Oh my goodness. With 997 health, this totem pole will literally just stand on the field and do absolutely nothing and gain more energy. It says energy speed increased by 45%. It doesn't matter whether you have this card at level 1 or if you have this card at level 6. It doesn't matter. It will still increase your energy gain by 45%. So you have to put nothing into it and you gain 100% from it. However, you will find people at higher ranks with it at a higher level, just so that way it doesn't get hit by Arrow Storm with some other units or random or whatever, right? And not die. This card is absolutely a bare necessity to Mystical theme and to really anybody who wants to compete in the highest levels of the game. This card just stands there and doesn't do anything, and it does it the best way possible. You gain energy. Let's talk about why. At the beginning of the match, if you put this card, you don't have to play it right away, but if you play it right at the beginning of the match, generally to the side of your new kid, you are forcing your opponent to come to your side of the field. Even if they have Zen Cartman and Catapult Timmy, two of some of the slowest units in the game, you put down that energy staff that gives more time for those 2 units to crawl their way across the field, and then you can put down your slower units to be able to counter the 2 different slow methods. Energy staff being the more slow method, because you always will have the advantage the closer the fight is to your side of the field. Always, 100%. And that's what energy staff does, primarily in the beginning, because when you use that 4 energy, you're basically going to get only 3.7 energy back, unless you use Hermes Kenny, which you will always use Hermes Kenny when you use energy staff, just so you know that for sure, to gain that extra energy time per time, while Hermes Kenny is using his ability Death Wish, right? But as it gets to be the last minute of the game and into overtime, this card is critical to winning matches, because even not only are you forcing the fight to your side of the field, you are gaining more energy than 4. So over the course of the entire game, you have more energy to play with than your opponent. And in the end, the way that you win these games is who has better energy management, who can get more value out of the energy that they use. And if you're already getting more value out of your energy used than your opponent, and you have more energy than them, you're going to have almost every card on the field. You're going to just be literally having every answer to them. This card, it doesn't do anything itself, but it literally controls the battlefield flow between playing really defensively to all of a sudden you've got so much energy that now you're just playing all of your cards and you're just spamming everything onto the field. So it goes from being a really hyper defensive to a really hyper offensive card without even doing anything on its own. Energy is the power in the game, and there it is, right? All right, so that is number 2. We are going to be talking about our honorable mentions. The honorable mentions, these are cards that did not make it into the top 12 cards, okay? These are just cards that I feel like are very good, but they just couldn't cut it for one reason or another in this test of how I feel about cards, their versatility and whatnot. So, first one's going to be Boy Tweek. With 80, he's a 3-cost ranged unit with 87 attack and 436 health. His war cry speeds up allies for 2 to 4 seconds, or 2.5 to 4.5 seconds, I believe is what it is. He has a pretty good amount of range. He got a decent amount of buffs. He works very good in more, really any type of deck he can really do good in, but he works really good in decks that can use multiple units like Terrence and Phillip, Visitors, or maybe more spam units like Swarm units or Assassins. He gains more value from those type of decks because he's boosting more units at one time. The only thing I really don't like about it is his duration is a gamble, like a Hook Hand Clyde ability. So you may get the minimum 2.5 seconds and it's like you didn't even get nothing, or you get the whole 4.5 seconds and you absolutely dominated the field. So it's a risky gamble card. That's why it doesn't make the list. But I do feel like it's a very strong card, and there's a lot of times where when you use this with Mr. Hanky or another assassin, there is no way for your opponent to counter, because it's a burst of energy. Burst of speed and momentum and violence. So a very good card indeed. I do like it. Just maybe not good for every deck in the game. Zen Cartman. He should have been in the top 12. He would have definitely been in the top 12 if he didn't get nerfed a 10% health. Now I feel like he definitely is more balanced and less OP. I do think he does deserve to be in almost every mystical deck. However, I don't run him in my mystical decks because of energy staff allows me to not need to, I guess you could say. But the 2200 health tank for 3 energy is extremely good. Taunting units into him. He can just, if you're in the middle of having fights in the middle of the midline is what I'm trying to say, and it's range units trying to win the battles, Zen Cartman's cycle ability and value of health versus his cost is still extremely good. He just didn't make it on the list because he doesn't actually attack or cause a huge ruckus of one thing or another. He almost was on the list. He actually was pretty high on the list, and he got bumped down low on the list, and he got bumped into the honorable mentions. Just hate to break it to you, bud. All right, we got another one on the honorable mentions. It's going to be Elvin King Bradley, who would have definitely made it onto the list if it was not for his recent nerf, decreasing his maximum range at level 6 to 1.5, making it to where ranged units can be hit by the new Kid Blast. He's a 3-cost fighter with 134 health, 134 attack and 727 health. He adds range and attack damage to all the other ranged units on the field, basically. They have nerfed him so many times that he's not really as good as he used to be, for sure. But he's still a strong card. The range boost will help out a lot, but you have to get him a higher level to do that. Has decent health, but he runs really fast, so his effect technically doesn't last as long as it used to. And it's not as strong as it used to. It doesn't give as much attack damage. It doesn't give as much range boost. So he used to be on. He would have been on the list for sure. Now he's definitely not. But he's still a very strong card. And again, it's one of those things where not every deck can actually use Elvin King Bradley. You have to build a deck just for him. So he's not as versatile as the other cards. And then we've got here. I almost didn't want to put this card in, but I was like, it's gotta be in there. Chomper. 475 damage. 2-cost trap card. The only reason why it didn't make it onto the list is because you can't put it on your opponent's side of the field. If you could do that, it would be OP. But as a defensive card, it kind of leaves you with some problems with if you can't push good enough and it just gets stuck in your hand. But the thing is that this card is extremely energy value efficient, because for a very big example, somebody can use a 4-cost Dougie, and you just put Chomper in the way, and their unit's dead. It's also very possible to hit 2 units with Chomper's ability. I think it should still be possible. So you technically double the amount of damage that you're doing, but they have to be really close to each other, and you have to lay it in between the 2 of them at the right spot. Otherwise, it'll still only trigger and hit 1 person. Very good defensive card. A lot of energy value. Just doesn't have the offensive capabilities or explosive AoE abilities that can make the difference to be on the list. And the next card, I do feel like it should have been on the list 100%. Alien Queen Red. But the reason why, I don't know. Even though I put it as an S tier card, I just feel like it doesn't belong in every single deck in the game. The 5 energy fighter with 142 attack and 715 health. Her ability is to throw alien eggs at enemies and poison them for 40 damage per second. It says it lasts for 40 seconds, but actually they buffed her up recently to where it lasts permanently. So now it can kill tanks no matter what. But the thing is, I don't know. I mean, I really like Mystical can counter it with Purify, but that's only one theme, and that's only if they're running it. So you can get a huge amount of energy value, but there's not like you can't use this card constantly during fights, or you're going to not be energy efficient. It has to be very specific times, so it's not as versatile. Your opponent may also never play any cards that are worth using Alien Queen Red, or feel like you should. So I don't know. There's sort of a love-hate relationship I feel with her. Like, she is S tier, but at the same time, when we're looking at the versatility and the ability to put cards, like how easy it is to put a card into any kind of deck, she just seems to not really fall into that category for me. But the poison is just so good. It's very good now. Another thing, though, with the con would be that if you use her ability and you don't have any more energy to defend, your opponent's units, if they're tanky enough, if they're legendary cards or whatever, they can deal with that damage and still make an offensive push and take a candy bar while Alien Queen Red's ability is going off. You have to use her in a specific way, I guess you could say. She's a little more niche, I guess. Same. That's what all these honorable mentions are niche cards, I guess. More niche. So, for our final card, it's gonna be... Drum roll, please. Brrr. And a lot of you have guessed it by now. I wouldn't doubt it whatsoever. It's gonna be Unholy Combustion. And not a whole lot we gotta say about this one. 5 cost energy, or spell card. Kill an enemy. Deal 78 damage to the surrounding enemies. Or 80 damage at level 6, I believe. Yep. Or whatever it is. 80 damage, 78 damage. You can hit the new kid by itself, and then it's game over. You won the game. No, I'm just kidding. But really, though, this card can blow up 1 cost rats. It can blow up a 7 cost man, bear, pig. You can blow up any card in the game except for totems, because they did nerf it that way. You used to be able to blow up totems too. But that 80 damage, you can hit the new kid with that for 80 direct damage, or you can blow up a unit sitting right next to the new kid, and it'll still hit the new kid for the damage. So it's doing chip damage similar to Fireball. The thing is it targets a little weird. People don't completely understand how it works, but you have to aim the unit that is the closest to the center of the circle will always be targeted. And if you let go of Unholy Combustion and your opponent spawns a unit as you are letting go, it will target whatever the new unit is spawning on the field. So you can accidentally miss with this card. But its utility is absolutely endless, extremely similar in that it does the direct damage like Lightning Bolt, the tray, but it's but it also has that AoE that it hits the new kid. You can use that AoE to even kill other units. So if there's 2 units on the field that are, one of them has no health, but the other unit is taking the zap damage from your new kid, you target the big one and it'll blow up and kill the other one. Or, you know, there's a better example, but basically you can kill multiple units with this card if the other unit is low enough health, of course, right? There's just too much. You use it offensively, you use it defensively. You can kill Satan as soon as before he spawns, before he can use his ability. Any charged ability units, Stand of Many Moons, Mecha Timmy, Grand Wizard Cartman, everything in the game fears Unholy Combustion, because it gets rid of it no matter what. It's an instant kill card. It gets rid of it. So that to me makes it the #1 rare card in the game. I do feel like I would rather have made the rare card tier list, make this common, rares, epics, and legendaries. I kind of feel like I should have not put spell cards in there, but I'm including totems and spell cards and trap cards, and I'm trying to find ones that are kind of similar, so that way that we can have them on an even playing field or whatnot. Alrighty, so we're gonna take a look here and see what we're gonna take a look at all 12 cards and see what they look like in the grand scheme of things. Alrighty, I figured I'd let you guys be able to see all the cards at one time. That way you could have a good idea. You can visualize the tier list that we've created here. And I know, again, some of this stuff is a little confusing for you guys, since you may have watched my tier list videos for each specific theme, and so some of this stuff probably doesn't quite add up, but this is just how I feel in the rare category specifically, right? So just gonna go over this one final time with Catapult Timmy, Space Warrior Token, Enforcer Jimmy, Dr. Timothy, both of the Dougies, Dwarf Engineer and Power Fist, then Underpants Gnomes, Visitors, Dwarf King Clyde, Fireball, Lightning Bolt, Mind Control, Energy Staff, Unholy Combustion. Those are your top 12 cards. Kind of 14 cards, but it's actually 12 in my opinion, because they're pretty close to even. I don't know. It's a very funny way for me to do this video with doing a top 12, but then having ties and then having honorable mentions. Shoutouts to the honorable mentions anyway, with Chomper, Alien Queen Red, Bradley, Zen Cartman, and Boy Tweek. Hoorah, indeed. So, like, the biggest thing that we're looking for here is just their value that you can gain consistently from these cards, and then the amount of, like, pow in a match that you'll see whenever they hit the field definitely makes all the difference. And of course, Energy Staff is just OP straight up from being a card that doesn't even move at all. Literally doesn't move not one bit. But you know, Unholy Combustion had to be number one. This is why I wasn't sure I wanted to put these spell cards in here. If I had removed the spell cards, these honorable mentions would have been in the list, right? And then it would make more sense. Definitely, the scaling would have been a little bit differently, but it is what it is. Alrighty, towels and moist towelettes, that's gonna be it. I hope you have a wonderful day. If you enjoyed the content, make sure to hit that like and subscribe to the channel. Anything and everything is appreciated. Let me know what you guys think about this. I will see you on the flippity floppity. Peace out.
Young people from all over the globe are joining up to fight for the future.
I'm doing my part.
I'm doing my part.
I'm doing my part.
I'm doing my part too.
They're doing their part. Are you? Join the Towel Nation and save the world. Service guarantees citizenship.